Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
We are back, and we have a great show for you guys today. Today is part 3. We've really enjoyed the feedback we've been getting on this series. It seems that there are so many of you. I have to say the interesting feedback has been mostly from people that are not new agents necessarily, though that was our primary focus when we wrote these points, but are the feedback that I've been enjoying the most, I have to say, if enjoying is the right word, has been from those who have been in the business for a while and are now trying to reset their compass so that they get back on track. And I think that's fantastic, actually.
Absolutely. So really, this is for everyone. And again, today is part 3 of the new real estate agent and or returning agents or agents who want to fill in the gaps of some of their learning. 15 steps how to be wildly successful. So on today's show, we challenge all of you to monitor who you regard as a real estate coach. As always, thank you for keeping this podcast the #1 daily podcast for real estate professionals. And remember to like and subscribe so that you receive every show the second that it's released. Now, if you're on iTunes, please do give us a 5-star review and then share with us why you liked the show. Your continued support and encouragement are greatly appreciated. So on to part 3. If you missed the previous 2, get caught up on your podcasts because we're starting with point number 8, Tom.
All right, point number 8, and this is a point that longtime listeners will have heard us drilling down on many times, and we're going to give you a little bit more drill down on this point, which is don't seek or take advice from unqualified and, dare we say, fake real estate coaches. Free YouTube advice, Facebook surveys, salespeople trying to sell you stuff that, and maybe the salespeople are calling themselves coaches, for example, and that don't have your best interests at heart, people that have never actually been in real estate, let alone been successful. So Julie and I created these 4 filters, and you can use these 4 questions. And you can use these questions when trying to qualify anybody that you should be listening to. And I want you guys to go back to the point that Julie made the other day with regards to if a pilot is a little bit off when trying to choose the runway, let alone land the plane.
That's right. So I read this article. I can't remember where I found it, but it was a pilot talking about what a huge difference even 1 or 2 degrees off of their flight plan can make, right? So you can be flying along and it looks like, you're flying west. Everything seems okay. You can recognize the cities down below. But after you've been in the air for 2 or 3 hours, off by 2 degrees, you could be off by 300 miles and landing at the wrong airport. So the point being that you can be a little bit off. You don't have to be massively off to be off. And that's why you need qualified, competent coaches to keep you on track, to hold you accountable, and to backfill those skills that will get you there. That way you don't get surprised when you're a couple of degrees off.
So the punchline to that is you have to be extraordinarily careful who you listen to. And that is in all facets of your life. And so many of young people come into this world and they get romanced by, say, for example, Instagram motivational speeches and people on YouTube. And they just assume someone's on YouTube, calls themselves a coach. They seem to know what they're talking about, so they are going to be somebody you then take advice from. Then you don't realize the advice you took is now going to put you off course for the direction that you should have been setting for yourself. So here are the 4 filters. Filter number 1, when you're trying to choose, and we'll just drill down to make this so that you're when choosing a coach, a trainer, or anybody to listen to. Number 1, has that person that you're considering taking any form of advice from, let alone coaching and training, ever actually had a real estate license? And to this day, it shocks and amazes me, and that there are some, fairly prominent I will call them coaches, but really they're not. They're more trainers that are in our industry that have never sold real estate before, as in never even had a real estate license before. And yet they call themselves real estate trainers, and agents don't think to ask, well, does this person actually have real experience selling real estate, or are they just acting like it, playing a doctor on TV where they're actually not a doctor on TV? So that's question number 1. Have they actually ever sold real estate? Have they had a real estate license? If the answer is no, I want you to tell me why you would listen to them. And this has to do with any aspect of your real estate business, from lead generation to sales skills, all that type of stuff. Why, if you had a choice, would you ever take advice about building your real estate business from someone who has, never built a real estate business? Point number two. Now, let's say you do come across somebody, and indeed, this person has been successful. They have had a real estate license. Okay, that's good. So the next filter, and it's a relatively simple one, have they sold at least 100 homes in a year? If they have not sold at least 100 homes in a year, you can do better. But move on to question 3, if they indeed have sold 100 houses in a year. So far, question 1, did you have a license? The answer was yes. Question number 2 is, did you sell 100 houses in a year? In this particular example, your potential trainer, coach, whatever, has sold at least 100 houses in a year. Let's move on to question number 3. Did they sell at least 100 homes per year for at least 5 years in a row? Now, why did we add that filter in? Because yes, of course, we know nobody basically can surpass the third filter. There's a handful of us in the industry right now. I can name them literally on one hand who are legitimate at that level. The fourth filter is going to take some of them out, but I just want you to, work up to this point where you're on the same page with Julie and I about how critically important it is. You're very careful who you listen to. Someone can sell 100 homes in a year because they listed a subdivision, or if they're in Miami or New York or some parts of, LA, it used to be a lot of new construction, new condos and whatnot. They could have listed a new subdivision, something that fed them listings and gave them relatively straightforward, easy access transactions. They still worked, but it's not the real work of going after one transaction at a time. I'm not going to say they got lucky, but for them to say they sold 100 houses in the same fashion that, say, someone living in Columbus, Ohio, or Iowa, or even Miami, who is working with one client at a time, there is a completely different skill set versus someone who's sitting new construction and working with customers, but they don't have to actually go after the business. The business comes to them, especially in a market like this. So I'm not taking anything away. I'm just saying, before you listen to people like that, you definitely qualify them because you can do better. First question was, did they have a license? Second question is, did they sell 100 houses? You're moving on only if the answer is yes. Third question is, did they actually sell 100 houses per year for 5 years in a row? And if the answer is no, then you can do better. And again, 5 years in a row matters too, because you're showing somebody that is somebody that has consistently been successful, not just a flash in the pan. And why would you want to listen to somebody who is only successful for a short period of time, or let alone somebody who hasn't really, sold real estate consistently in all different kinds of markets? You wouldn't. It doesn't make sense. You can do better. You have the option to choose somebody who's going to be more qualified so that you increase the likelihood of you actually landing on the right runway. Now, question number 4, this is what's going to take virtually every single, self-proclaimed real estate coach and trainer out of consideration for you. Have they performed at least 10,000, performs an interesting choice of words. Have they provided at least 10,000 paid one-on-one coaching calls for real estate professionals? Have they done at least 10,000 one-on-one calls, that they're paid for? Now, here's how they're going to try to basically, they're going to try to hide the fact they have never done it. Because virtually, again, one hand of the number of people that are in the industry right now that have done that level of production, that have been that successful long-term, not just in selling real estate, but also in coaching agents to sell real estate. And the reason you want somebody that's performed at least 10,000 paid one-on-one coaching calls is because the market will have decided whether or not they're good at being coaches. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gotten people to pay, let alone gotten to pay 10,000 times. You guys get it? So the market will have sorted them out if they're any good or not. Now, why do you want somebody who has been paid? Because what a lot of these coaches and trainers that are going to do is they're going to try to obfuscate the fact that they have never actually had a very successful coaching practice. In other words, they don't really know how to coach. They do know how to present. And that's what a lot of you guys get lured in by, are trainers. Like right now on this podcast, we're doing 80% training, presenting, and we're doing maybe 20% coaching. Not a lot of coaching happens when we're talking to tens of thousands of you. It's impossible, because a true coaching relationship is one-on-one. That's important you guys understand that. Coaching is one-on-one or 4-on-1. It's a small group or an individual. Training is like a teacher. So coaching is going to be like a tutor. Training is like walking into an auditorium and having a professor or a TA in front of you. That's training. That's, teaching. Coaching is you sitting down with that professor, and where that professor or that coach can then, figure out what your little nuanced quirks are and your strengths and your weaknesses so that they can help to make you better. Julie and I are, we use this as an example. We're trying to get better at kettlebells. Well, we hired the kettlebell coach because if we took the kettlebell class that he also coaches, we're not going to have somebody that is going to take the time and help us figure out the little micro adjustments that we need to make. So frankly, we don't kill ourselves.
That's very true.
Okay, so the fourth question again is, have they performed at least 10,000 paid one-on-one coaching calls? And if they have not, if they are trying to say, well, I've done a bunch of videos or I've done a bunch of training in front of audiences, no, sir, no, ma'am, 10,000 paid. If the answer is no, then that person should be disqualified as a potential coach for you, or even frankly, trainer. You can do better. There are better, now, one hand of people out there in the marketplace. You're about to say something?
Well, I was thinking about our kettlebell training, right? So
Yeah.
I can watch a kettlebell presentation on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
This is the name of this exercise and this is the basic move. That's different than maybe the next thing would be to go to a live class where I'm getting more exposure, but still it's not personalized training. It's not coaching. Versus actually working with a qualified trainer who specializes in kettlebells, who can look at you and make changes to you, or look at me and make some modifications for me, so we, again, don't kill each other, him or ourselves. So that's a distinct difference. I could have stopped at just watching some YouTube thing and thought I knew what I was doing until I probably injured myself or got bored with it.
Well, yeah, exactly. You didn't get progressively better at it because you never learned how to do it right in the first place.
Exactly.
But where this really gets pernicious is all the social media marketing, whatever. Every single millennial out there, this trend has kind of come and gone, but it's pretty funny, has started their own marketing, their own media agency, right? Their own social media agency. You guys many of you weren't in the real estate business, but that was a huge trend. There were marketers that decided that they were going to sell other people how to be gurus, marketers. That was a whole niche space. And that became very prevalent. So what a lot of you guys will do is you'll go to seminars, you'll get emails. And what these people are I'll call them professional, but they're probably mostly not. So they're professional marketers that are marketing to you why you need to market. And then they're going to sell you their marketing widget. How do you actually know whether or not they actually know what the hell they're talking about unless you run them through these 4 filters? How do you actually know whether or not their product is even worth anything unless they've actually had 10,000 people? You guys get the point? And what happens is if you listen to folks like this, if they're unqualified to give you real estate advice, let alone business building advice, you will get one degree after another, after another, after another. And those degrees, Julie's analogy is, basically you wouldn't want to land on the wrong runway. But the reality of it is you lose months, years. You can lose decades of your life because you chased the wrong idea or series of ideas. And there's something in the human ego, too, that once you start doing this marketing, like we have these coaching calls and we read you guys' comments. I shouldn't say it. I'm not going to say it because I'll end up having to basically make fun of people, and I don't want to do that. But there are people who have taken issue with Julie and I seemingly being old school or being, anti-social networking and all that. We are not anti-social networking. We are not marketing. We are not anti-marketing. We are not anti-branding. Those things are all lies that our competitors try to say about us so that you guys will think that somehow our information is obsolete. What we are anti are fake coaches giving you guys bad advice that results in you failing. We think there are places for the passive lead generation, the marketing and the branding, but it comes after you've learned how to actually be business people. It comes after you've learned how to be the best version of yourself as a salesperson. It comes after you've learned how to be a proactive lead generator. Otherwise, you're just going to spend all of your money, assuming you even sell houses to have the money to spend. So hopefully this makes sense to you guys. But you have to be incredibly critical who you listen to. And the worst person to listen to or people to listen to are whomever the mob is listening to. So if you see a bunch of people that are listening to a specific, this is the new marketing guru, this is the widget, this is the wadget, and everyone's running to that idea, you need to run the opposite direction because that idea is going to become oversaturated. In real estate and marketing in general, again, there's so many of these people that are selling these whiz-bang marketing ideas trying to lie to you basically, and that you never have to do what you don't want to do and you don't want to do it at the highest level. Just make a bunch of TikTok videos and the market's going to come, marching to your front door. Why don't, if your goal is to make money, if your goal is to help people, why don't you, instead of doing all this, never ending casting, looking for a fish in the lake, why don't you just go to where the lake are and throw in a net and grab a couple? I mean, that's the difference. It doesn't make any sense. And so when you actually allow your logical, intelligent brains to understand the difference between what we're suggesting that the path you go on versus what they go on, ours results in duplicatable, predictable, scalable results. Ours is going to result in you being able to, when you choose to, set a pre-qualified listing appointment, create consistent cash flow, create an actual, honest to God, large net income to which you then will have the money to reinvest, where you can then become rich, where your money works for you and you no longer work for your money. That is our vision for you. We want you to have the option sooner than later to be able to essentially decide whether or not you want to sell real estate or not. That is really what our mission is. Ultimately, we want you to keep selling real estate, but we want you to have financial options that are not, essentially so you don't have to stay on the transactional roller coaster for the rest of your life. Many of you are ready to become Premier Coaching clients. We're seeing hundreds of you guys join every month. Here's the simplest way for you to do it. Text the word Premier. Do this now. Text the word Premier to 47372. Text the word Premier to 47372. And when you do, we're going to text you back a link so you guys can join the Premier Coaching Program. By the way, depending on which pathway you choose, you can join for around $100 a month. Text the word Premier to 47372. This is our complete A to Z system. It's proven to work in all markets, all price ranges, all interest rates environments. It's proven itself to be, through what? 2 or 3 wars.
Right.
I mean, all kinds of different presidents and all other forms of lunacy. This is the coaching program. This is the training program that all of you must be employing first. And we do, of course, we'll show you how to do the marketing, the stuff that makes sense. We'll show you how to do the branding, the stuff that makes sense. We're not just going to tell you to do things just for the sake of placating your egos. We're going to show you how to do things that are going to make the most meaningful impact on your future. So text the word Premier to 47372. And remember, message and data rates may apply.
Yes, so point number 9 applies to every single one of you, not just our newbie agents. And that is, keep your online profiles professional. Don't be political, opinionated, or complaining. Don't have unfinished profiles. Have a professional business Facebook page. Don't get talked into paying for website optimization. Your social media is there to support your business, not to create business. It is not a spoke. We talked about spokes on the wheel yesterday.
Well, you threw a lot in that point, but I'll just basically summarize with this simple idea. Just don't have anything, it's the Republicrat thing, right?
Right.
And I know all of us are it's being beaten into us that we have to be partisan. We have to be this way or that way. Well, how are you ever going to become the best version of yourself as a real estate professional if you're only going to be able to, it's like the personality profiles, but in an even more, I think, impactful way. Be a Republicrat, be both, because both there's merits to both sides of the perspectives on different arguments. You don't have to carry any particular flag, and be very, other than the U.S. flag, and be very careful of people that are trying to get you to be partisan or try to think one way or the other. It just makes your world smaller. And that's the thing that people aren't getting. They're not understanding. And let's not worry about the psychology of why people are acting like that. Let's not worry about, who cares? It doesn't matter. What matters is that you guys be in alignment with your highest and truest purpose on this planet, which is being of service to other people. And that goal, the goal for that, or to follow up on that goal, means that you have to have a service that other people are willing to pay for. And that comes back to skills. So on all of your profiles, have the same picture, have the same information, have the same contact information. Don't hide behind a bunch of clicks and opt-ins. I give, my cell phone out every single day on this podcast. It is my real cell phone, and I never answer it, but I will respond to text. So I say, if you guys have any show ideas, if you have anything you want us to drill down on more, just text me. And Julie and I always listen to what you guys say. It matters to us. So my cell phone number, and this is my real cell phone number, is 512-758-0206, 512-758-0206. And by the way, you can also message us through Instagram. More of you guys are finding our Instagram profile, and I think you're finding it mostly because you enjoy watching us abuse ourselves at the gym. I do find that interesting, but I'll tell you the reason I think that's working out to be something of an amazing thing, as other people are picking up on kettlebelling.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to challenge them to start posting their pictures on their profiles.
Yep.
So there's this sort of, I think, informal accountability program that's going to start emerging all over the world from podcast listeners who are basically enjoying our pain and suffering from going to kettlebell training in the gym every day and want to take up on it themselves. Because, guys, the accumulation effect of being in good physical shape, especially as you get older — I'm getting older, Julie's not, she's staying the same — is miraculous. It's one of the greatest gifts you can give to yourself. So if you guys want to follow us over on Instagram, it's Tim and Julie Harris. That's another great place to message us if you have any ideas. And again, I do appreciate your guys' little quips and the other things that you send our ways. Yeah. And encouragement too. A lot of nice people.
Well, it is in alignment with our mission to educate, motivate, and get you into action. It's just in a slightly different genre.
But so we have an agenda too with that, right? Because we are feeling accountable to all the people that are getting their entertainment from watching us suffer. But, it's accountable because we're posting pictures. And trust me, guys, we never want to go. Ever. Have you ever wanted to go to the gym once?
No.
Like ever? Never. Me either.
Nope. Yeah. Okay, so point number 10, again, for all of you, especially for newbies to learn this habit early, but for all of you, something so simple but so impactful: answer your phone. Call people back as soon as possible, even if that's to tell them you're about to be in an appointment and you're going to call them at a certain time. Lack of communication is the number one complaint real estate clients and prospects have about realtors, about salespeople in our industry. When they don't hear from you, they are not thinking good things. So answer your phone. I've had so many of our coaching clients say that particular point: answer your phone. If you're not with clients, answer your phone, and then call people back immediately once you're free.
Yeah, answering your phone. Don't letting it go to voicemail. Don't just relying on text. But it comes down to two of our points, which is in our best-selling book called Harris Rules, available obviously at every major bookseller and also available on Audible, is that you have to have furiously fast lead follow-up. If you guys could only have two things going for you, it's going to be furiously fast lead follow-up, which is Julie's point number 10, and energy and enthusiasm. If you have energy and enthusiasm, even if you're completely learning on the job and don't even know north, south, east, or west, but you have energy and enthusiasm and you're very urgent, furiously fast with all your lead follow-up, somebody calls you, you answer or you call them back urgently fast, you are going to win more often than you lose, and you can backfill with skill.
That's exactly right. One of the strange things that happens quite often when people want to join coaching is they'll state, I'm communicating with you because I need more lead generation. And then we call them back and their voicemail's full. Yeah. I always think that's just kind of odd.
That is funny, too. And if we are doing live events, which this is basically a live event, and you were to survey agents what they are most concerned about, and they're always going to say lead generation. Yep. And then you look at essentially, in some cases, we're pretty much every case that is true. That's the number one thing you got to focus on is generating leads. That's definitely true. But generating leads in real estate, when you learn to be a listing agent, especially in a market like this, is the easiest thing you've ever experienced in your life. It's crazy. It's giving out water in a desert, right? That's how easy it is. Once you learn how to be a listing agent, leads will never be your problem again. So, hey, guys, become a listing agent. But after that, really, what matters the most is the furiously fast lead follow-up and your energy and enthusiasm. People ask us to this day, how did we sell over 100 houses our first year in the business? And you guys can see these pictures of us on Instagram. We looked ridiculous. But anyway, so how did we do it? And it wasn't because we knew what the hell we were doing. We didn't come from real estate backgrounds. We didn't have coaches or trainers. We did. We were patchwork and quilt our prospecting scripts together.
Everything.
Yeah, everything. We didn't stop. We didn't stop to learn. We just went out there. There's an opportunity. We're going to chase it. There's an opportunity. We're going to chase it. We learned on the job. And when we found we didn't know something or we made fools of ourselves, which happened all the damn time, we thought, well, that was a good lesson. We won't do that again. That was dumb.
That's how you learn. Earn while you learn, right?
Lost that opportunity. Well, that was dumb. That was a costly mistake. I'm not suggesting you guys, learn from failure, but learning from failure is a strength because you only, generally speaking, have to learn it once. The smart man learns from his mistake, or a woman. A brilliant man learns from mistakes of others. That's what the coaching program is all about.
That's right. So a lot of you guys don't call back right away because you're afraid of the question or not being able to handle what the person left a message about. All you have to do is call them right back. And if you don't have any clue what you're doing, your script is, that's interesting. I'm going to call you at 6:00 to hear more about it. It would be my pleasure to help you with that. You don't even have to have any clue what they're talking about. You just have to be there ready with your energy and enthusiasm.
Well, but also, Jules, the reality is that as you listen to this podcast, become coaching clients, you will, depending on the price range of what they're calling about, assume they're calling about a house for sale. Most cases, they're going to have houses to sell, provided they can find a place to move to. The pent-up demand in the marketplace right now is truly extraordinary. It is beyond, nobody talks about it, but I bet you right now, if there were, that's the reason there's not going to be a real estate crash. If all of a sudden a bunch of listings were come available, 1 million listings comes available, they'll all be in contract in 2 days.
Yes, you
because
guys know
there's
it.
so much pent up demand. The sales velocity is slowing because of the lack of inventory. But these things will all cure themselves over time. But really, what you need to focus on now, if you want to have an unfair advantage in the marketplace, is being skills based. Don't try to fake your way into acting like you're something that you're not. There's a little bit to faking it until you make it. There's nothing wrong with that. But why don't you make it for real, and then you don't ever have to fake it? That would be what Julie and I's approach to business and life has been.
And this is why we have Premier Coaching too, so that we can help you succeed faster, so that when you say, yes, it would be my pleasure to help you, and then you immediately go over to your Facebook Live session for our coaches and ask those questions and say, hey, I've got this lead that's like mixed use, commercial and residential. I've never dealt with that before. Where do I start? What do I do? That way you can say yes more and stop just not calling people back, or saying, that's not my cup of tea. Let me just refer it out.
Well, Julie, if they're coaching clients and they have our buyer or seller pre-qualification scripts,
they'll know what to do.
They're going to know what to say. They're going to know what questions to ask and which orders to ask them. They're going to know how the flow is supposed to work in a sales conversation to reach the desired result of helping that buyer or seller transact. You're solving a problem for them. All right, point number 11, Julie.
Point number 11, don't negotiate over text messages. There have been lawsuits over this, by the way.
For sure.
Text is subject to misinterpretation. The other person may not get the tone you intended, either positive or negative. Other people could be reading their texts, and language barriers make all of this worse. Also, it's not a legal document, so stop doing it. And I looked up a whole bunch of stuff about, negotiating over text messages, and the lists were not just about real estate, but about life, like what not to do over text, and the list was long.
Well, in the defense of using text, I use text exclusively pretty much. I can't even tell you.
But you don't coach people over text, though.
Well, I have. Honestly, I have. But I'll tell you how I do it. I leave voice recordings.
Yes.
And I text the voice recording. And that's going to basically convey what I wanted.
That's different.
Right. That's exactly. Yes, but you're correct. Thinking that somehow texting is going to be as effective as having a real meaningful conversation is false. But also, knowing how to have that meaningful conversation is the reason that so many of them text.
That's right.
Because they don't know what to say or how to say it, which goes back to having skills.
Yeah. It's funny because it seems non-confrontational, right? You can just fire off a text, which is easier and less confrontational because I'm not actually talking to you and getting your response. And yet, how many times does it backfire and become confrontational because it was either misinterpreted, the tone was wrong, you used the wrong emoji, that emoji means something different in a different language. Who knows what it was, right?
Completely.
It's just not professional.
Yeah, I agree completely. By the way, if you guys would like to text me about joining Julie and I at eXp Realty, yes, Julie and I are with eXp. We aligned 3 years ago. It was one of the best business decisions we ever made. We would love to talk with you about joining Julie and I at eXp. And yes, I want you to text me directly. Do that now. If you're ready to join eXp, text me now at 512-758-0206. We would love the opportunity to earn the right to be your eXp Realty sponsor. eXp Realty is the perfect new agent platform, a brokerage, but also for anybody in any level of their career. We're going to be creating for you guys a series of podcasts, which is going to be about your 3-year plan or your something like, we haven't worked out the time frame yet. But the gist of it is how do you go from essentially being a new licensee, let's say, to somebody who's a multimillionaire who's living off passive income? We're going to create that plan for you, and we're going to present that to you hoping next week. We're going to be working on it over the weekend for you. And I want you to save that information because this is the information that we've helped probably at this point tens of thousands of people to pursue. But one of the key elements, and I'm foreshadowing what you're going to be hearing, is definitely become an eXp Realty agent because it creates multiple streams of income for you off the normal transaction that you'd just be getting paid once on. You can get paid multiple times. It is the 8th greatest wonder of the world, or frankly, after commissions and listing contracts, it's the 3rd greatest wonder of the world for real estate agents. So when you're ready to become an eXp real estate agent, which all of you should be, whether you're in the business now or your license number has basically just issued, text me directly at 512-758-0206. If you're just getting started and you just were looking for information on eXp, you're not quite ready to commit, we've got you covered too. You can just simply text the letters EXP, text EXP to 47372. And remember, message and data rates may apply. But for the rest of you who are ready to join and you've not made a commitment to somebody else, please do consider Julie and I as your EXP sponsors. We would love the honor and privilege to help you and partner with you on your trajectory through your real estate career. So, Julie, I think this would be a good place for us to level off.
Yes, absolutely. We've given them a lot to think about. So hopefully you're not just taking notes, but you're taking action.
That's right. You guys have a fantastic day. Thank you for continuing to make this the number one listened to daily podcast for real estate professionals in the world. It really is incredibly meaningful to us that we're able to help so many of you. We do sincerely love the privilege and honor of helping you. It's so amazing to Julie and I in so many ways. We're standing here. We just got back to the gym. We're talking to our little mics. We're, essentially being ourselves, reading this script. We're trying to be entertaining. We're trying to vocalize. We're trying to motivate, educate. But ultimately, what really is motivating us is when we see the little signs that you guys are getting into action with the information you're learning from this podcast. Some of you will become coaching clients. Some of you will join EXP Realty with us. Those things are wonderful. But what we, again, in addition to that, it's when we get the little messages from you where you're, saying, we read on iTunes, you give us a 5-star review and you say, well, this is what I learned from, Tim and Julie, and thank God I heard this podcast. Or the ones where they say, I've been trying to do the marketing, the branding forever, and I stumbled across Tim and Julie's podcast or read their book or whatever, became a coaching client, and now I'm able to make more net profit than I ever made before. Why isn't everyone else doing this? Those types of things. That really is impactful to us because it tells us that we're on mission. Because our mission ultimately is to make it so that you guys can all experience freedom in your lifetimes. Freedom from ever having to worry about money. And the only way you do that, aside from, winning the lottery in some variation, the only way you do that is by becoming the best version of yourself as a real estate practitioner. Now, obviously, if you're listening to us as a small business owner and you're not a real estate professional, then maybe consider becoming one or become the best version of yourself as the dentist or the whatever you are. Mm-hmm. But for the sake of the masses of audience that listen to us, which are real estate professionals, you have to become the best version of yourself. You don't necessarily know what that means, and that's okay. That's what being involved with our coaching organization is all about. And then we're going to do this podcast series for you guys. Like year 1, here are specifically what you should have accomplished in the first year in business. Year 2, year 3. This is not just how many houses you should have listed, but this is the profit that you should have made. These are the hypothetical investment opportunities you would have created had you done these first activities. You guys see what we're creating? I'm very excited about it. Julie's a little bit overwhelmed by it.
That's okay.
Because there's going to be a lot of details.
That's right.
Yeah. So in the meantime, you guys have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow. Have a fantastic day, guys. God bless.